I scammed my husband into liking me, and I admitted it on our wedding day. Admitted in my vows, actually, in front of all of our guests. For me, it was love at first sight for my, now, husband. Not so much for him. I was his little sister's friend, strapped with head go and constant prepubescent giggling. He was the older, much hotter, couldn't he care less older brother just down the hall about to graduate high school. I obviously had no shot. Years later, we met again through mutual friends, now both of age, in adult bodies, no headgear. I was just as starstruck. He was still just as cute, and this time I actually had a chance. I wasn't going to blow it. I invited him to crash at my place after a friend's birthday party, and I had staged the place. I had casually left out a t-shirt of his favorite football team. You know, just tossed on the back of a chair. Oops, how did that get there? I left a CD of his favorite band on my nightstand, because obviously, that's what any casual fan does. I love them too, duh. I had his favorite beer in the fridge. Yep, I 100,000% drink this beer too. It doesn't taste like piss water to me at all. Was I a complete weirdo for doing this? Yes. Did it work perfectly? Also yes. It also made for perfect wedding vows. His sister, a bridesmaid, was only a little miffed to find out I was using our hangouts as study sessions on her older brother. She thought it was hilarious. Disclaimer, I'm not a creepy stalker. There were boyfriends in between my high school crush and meeting again as adults. I honestly had no idea we'd meet again. Just saw my chance and took it. LOL. ETA. To the people who think this is weird. 1. I already owned the shirt, my alma mater, and CD because I genuinely like them. I just made sure they were visible. 2. I don't care. I'm super into my husband. Sue me.
How a misunderstood compliment led me to a stranger's backyard barbecue. I had an experience that perfectly captures the fine line between social anxiety and unexpected hospitality. I had just finished a workout and was walking home through a quiet suburban neighborhood when I spotted a man standing in front of his house with an exceptionally friendly golden retriever. Being a lifelong dog lover, I paused to say hello and compliment the dog. I bent down, gave the pup a quick pat, and said, "What a handsome guy you are." The man smiled warmly and said, "You're right on time." I assumed he was referring to me greeting the dog, maybe a joke about the dog's adoring fans arriving on schedule. I laughed, nodded politely, and was about to continue walking when he stepped aside and gestured toward the backyard. "Everyone's out back already," he added. "Go ahead and grab a plate." At that point, I could have explained the misunderstanding, but instead, I hesitated. Maybe it was the fatigue from the workout, or perhaps I didn't want to make it awkward. So I smiled, muttered something vague like "will do," and walked right in. I entered a backyard bustling with conversation and music. Folding chairs surrounded a large table covered in food. I was immediately greeted by a woman who handed me a plate and offered ribs. People waved. Someone passed me a soda. It was warm, welcoming, and oddly natural, like I belonged. Roughly 10 minutes into my undercover operation, someone turned to me and asked, "So, how do you know Greg?" Without missing a beat, I replied, "Through the dog," which, technically, was true. Eventually, I confessed the whole misunderstanding. To my surprise, everyone found it hilarious. One man even raised a toast to Greg's dog, the real party planner. I ended up staying for the rest of the barbecue and was sent home with a Tupperware of leftovers. It was one of those moments that started with quiet hesitation and ended in unexpected connection. The kind of small, strange story that makes life feel just a little more human. Complimented a man's dog outside his house. He thought I was a guest arriving for a party. I didn't correct him. Accidentally attended a full backyard barbecue. Left with a plate of ribs and some new friends.
I posted something I probably shouldn't have, and now my quiet neighbor won't stop looking at me. I live in a small building where no one really talks to each other. We nod in the hallway, take out trash, mind our business. One day I posted a photo, nothing crazy, but let's just say, it wasn't meant for my neighborhood to see. I shared it on a platform I use privately, where I have a small but very loyal following. Didn't think much of it, until a week later, I caught my neighbor looking at me differently. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Then came the long stairs in the elevator, The way he stood in his doorway whenever I walked by, the subtle smirk when we made eye contact. The weirdest part? He doesn't follow me. At least not under a name I'd recognize. But I know he saw it. Maybe he's watching silently. Maybe he's saving things I'll never know about. I've gotten used to people watching me in secret. But it still hits different when it's someone who lives right across the hall. Anyway, if you've ever stumbled across someone you weren't supposed to see like that, what did you do? And if you're reading this, I see you too.
The day my obsession with truth led me to the ghost of a past I had to forget. My little addiction was simple. I needed the truth. I hated the digital performance, the filtered faces, the carefully curated lies. To combat this, I developed a ritual where I would use FaceSeek to confirm the identities of strangers I encountered online, satisfying some petty, moralizing urge. This obsession ultimately delivered the one truth I was least equipped to handle. I was arguing with a user on an old comment thread, a meaningless debate, but their vocabulary was sharp. Driven by my ritual, I retrieved a low-quality profile picture and ran the search. The results pointed to an old social media page, and the face staring back was my cousin, Mark. Not just a Mark, the Mark. The one my family completely severed ties with over a nasty legal dispute 15 years ago. The one who had been my best friend growing up, whose existence I had successfully pushed into the deep recesses of my childhood memory. He was supposed to have moved across the country and disappeared. The shock was a physical blow. I wasn't talking to a stranger. I was talking to a ghost from my own bloodline, arguing over trivialities, totally unaware of our shared history. My compulsion for truth had ripped open a wound my family thought was healed. I am left with his name, his face, and the crushing knowledge that the person I had been avoiding for half my life was right there, hiding in plain sight. I still haven't messaged him. The irony of seeking truth and finding a secret too big to tell is unbearable.
I never believed I'd find true love with a wealthy man, but I did. I used to think rich people only dated for convenience, looks, fame, or social status. I never imagined that someone with so much could see something in someone like me. When I first met him, I wasn't impressed by his car or his clothes. What caught me was how he really listened, like my words mattered more than anything in the world. At first, I thought maybe it was just kindness. But kindness doesn't last this long, and real eyes don't fake that kind of care. He didn't try to change me or make me feel small because of where I came from. Instead, he admired how I worked hard for everything I had, even if it wasn't much. He once said, "Money can buy comfort, but it can't buy peace, and you bring me peace." I won't lie, I was scared at first. I thought he'd eventually realize I wasn't from his world and walk away. But he stayed. Through my insecurities, through my doubts, through every moment I tried to push him away. Now, when people see us together, they think it's just another rich man, simple girl story. But they don't see the laughter, the deep talks, the quiet moments when we forget about everything else. It's strange, I used to think love and wealth couldn't mix without pride or pain. But now I know. True love doesn't care about what's in your wallet. It cares about what's in your heart. And for once in my life, I'm not just lucky. I'm loved, truly loved.
The last letter. It was a chilly autumn afternoon when Emma stumbled upon an old, dusty box in her grandmother's attic. Inside were letters tied with a faded ribbon, each one yellowed with age. Curiosity piqued. She carefully untied the bundle and began to read. The letters were written by a man named Thomas, expressing his love for a woman named Clara. Each letter revealed a piece of their story, a whirlwind romance that blossomed during a time of war. Emma found herself captivated by Thomas's heartfelt words, detailing their secret meetings in the moonlit gardens and the promises they made to each other. As she delved deeper into the letters, she discovered that Clara was her grandmother, and Thomas was the love she had lost long before Emma was born. The final letter, dated just days before Thomas was deployed, was filled with hope and longing. He wrote about a future he dreamed of with Clara, a life filled with laughter, adventure, and an everlasting bond. But the war had other plans. Emma learned that Thomas never returned, and Clara had married another man, carrying the weight of her lost love in silence for decades. Feeling a connection to this story, Emma decided to honor her grandmother's memory by visiting the places mentioned in the letters. She traveled to the old garden where Thomas and Clara had shared their first kiss, the park bench where they had carved their initials, and the little cafe where they first met. During her journey, Emma met Jack, a local artist who frequented the same cafe. Their paths crossed as she sketched the scenery, and they struck up a conversation. As they spent more time together, Emma found herself drawn to Jack's warmth and creativity. He listened intently as she shared the story of her grandmother and the letters, and he began to paint her portrait, capturing the essence of the love story that had inspired her. Over the weeks, their friendship blossomed into something deeper. Jack's laughter filled the spaces that had once felt empty, and Emma discovered a new kind of love, one that was rooted in understanding and shared experiences. One evening, as they sat by the river watching the sunset, Jack took Emma's hand and said, "Love is timeless, isn't it? Your grandmother's love story lives on, and it's beautiful to think that love can find us again, even in unexpected ways." Tears welled in Emma's eyes as she realized that while Thomas and Clara's story would always hold a special place in her heart, she was ready to embrace her own love story with Jack. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Emma leaned in and kissed Jack, feeling a sense of hope and renewal. In that moment, she understood that love, in all its forms, is a thread that connects us across generations, weaving together the past and the present. The stranger who made my worst day a little better. A few months ago, I had one of those days where everything goes wrong. Missed my bus, spilled coffee on my shirt, and got an email saying I didn't get the job I really wanted. I just sat on a park bench feeling completely defeated. An older man walking his dog stopped nearby and noticed I looked upset. He didn't say much at first, just handed me a napkin from his pocket for the coffee stains and said, "Rough day?" I nodded, and he smiled and said, "Good. That means tomorrow's due to be better." He didn't try to give advice or make small talk. He just stood there a minute, let his dog sniff around, and then said, "Hang in there, kid," before walking off. I never saw him again, but for some reason, that small moment stuck with me. Sometimes, a stranger's kindness hits harder than they'll ever know.
I wish my roommate ghosted me instead of what she did. I wish my roommate ghosted me instead of what she did because disappearing quietly is way better than what actually happened. She decided to manifest better energy by burning sage in our living room. Cute idea, right? Except she forgot to open any windows, left the sage smoldering on top of a stack of unpaid bills, and went to meditate in her car. By the time I got home, our smoke detector was losing its mind, the apartment smelled like an ancient forest fire, and my landlord was standing outside with a garden hose like he was auditioning for Firefighter Idol. Now half my clothes reek of burnt herbs, my neighbors think we started a cult, and the fire department told me I should consider new housing options. Meanwhile, my roommate just keeps saying the universe was clearly releasing negative energy. Yeah, along with half my security deposit.
Officer, those are my teeth. At the early age of 19, I had 3 of my 4 wisdom teeth out. As usual, you're given pain meds and cotton in your mouth. He also gave me my teeth back in a little envelope. I went to a party that night. I wasn't drinking but definitely was smoking some weed and went out to buy more. Smoked most of it in my friend's car on the way back to the party. At that point the party decided to go down to the lake close by to Skinny Dip. My best friend and I didn't do all that noise but were hanging out. Soon enough a couple cops pop up. Line us all up. Where's your ID? How old are you? I told them for sure. Also, I have a pipe in my bag. The officer went to grab the piece but saw I had a few pain pills in a pill case as well. I'm trying to explain to him what happened and what that envelope is. The officer puffed his chest and gripped the envelope, saying that I was in trouble now. Before I could utter it I said, "No, sir." As they roll into his hands, those are my teeth. The roots still attached and everything, large blood-dried teeth. He pushed my bag across the trunk and left me alone at that point. Apparently I was truthful. Ha. Everyone was let loose because they had bigger issue to deal with and had us just walk back to my friend's place. They were my lucky teeth after that, LOL.
I accidentally joined a neighborhood crime watch and now I have a whistle. It all started when I saw a flyer on a lamppost that said Community Watch meeting Thursday 6 p.m. and for some reason, I thought it was a stargazing club. Don't ask why, maybe the word watch made me think of, watching the sky. So I showed up. I even brought a blanket and a bag of trail mix. The meeting was in someone's garage. No telescopes, just a whiteboard, a folding table with coffee, and about 8 very serious people wearing reflective vests. Before I could back out, a woman named Bob handed me a clipboard and said, "Glad you here, we've had some porch pirate activity on Cedar Drive." Now, I could have clarified right then. I could have said, "Oh, I thought this was about constellations, not package theft." But social anxiety kicked in, and I nodded like this was exactly where I meant to be. Next thing I know, I'm being assigned Zone 2. Someone gave me a whistle. There was a laminated map involved. I didn't even know my own block had zones. For the past 2 weeks, I've been doing nightly walks with Bob and a retired guy named Stan who says things like, "Always trust your gut." And dogs. Dogs know. I still haven't admitted I joined by mistake. And weirdly, I kind of like it. I've met more neighbors in 2 weeks than I had in the past 2 years. Plus, last night someone gave me banana bread and said I was bringing stability to the area. So yeah, I went looking for stars. Ended up watching for porch pirates. Life's weird like that.
I made a fake religion to get away with stuff. So at my school damn near everyone uses their religion to get away with stuff. Oh but teacher, my religion forbids it. And nothing happens, no questions asked. Rarely I see them asking about why the religion forbids it, but the teachers are so fed up with the excuse that they just don't bother questioning it. I decided that I could use less heat off my tail, so I made up my own and use it everywhere cause I don't want to tarnish an actual religion over my shenanigans. Why are you late? Professor, in my religion being early is a sign of disrespect. We wish to give the host extra time, so we come a little later than the set time. You're not allowed to eat right now. Professor, I have to eat. Our gods extract the nutrients from us, and this is they like to eat. If you want to get away with stuff, feel free to join my non-existent religion. It's called Evatanho due to the fact I was thinking about the evolutions at the time of conception. It's a running joke I made to say my gods are them and give exactly zero context on who they are. Who are your gods? They are who's they them. That's all the info they get.
Rejected. Okay, this is very embarrassing to say, but I was rejected after liking a guy since I was like 7. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not pretty like low-key. I'm fat actually high-key. And I'm using speak-to-voice cause I'm not gonna type this out, but I wanna say it so. We had just graduated high school and I knew he was gonna go out of state, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna tell him because you know better late than ever, and who knows, maybe somehow someway he's gonna accept me wrong, so unbelievably wrong. I texted him on Snapchat. I added him like a few years ago and he added me back. I know, super happy. I texted him right and he texted within seconds and I was like, no way. He said hi back. I was like, oh my gosh, I was genuinely like I was at work because I know that I'll be distracted at work, so I won't be glued to my phone waiting for his response. Plus my coworkers will keep me grounded from saying dumb things. So I text him, can I tell you something? I'm like, oh my gosh. He's like, yeah sure, and it took me a dead-ass 48 minutes to come up with to say because I didn't want to sound corny or like weird or creepy anyhow, so I said like, I've liked you for a long time, I just want to get out of my chest, and he said, I appreciate it, thanks, yeah I want to cry. It happened like 3 to 4 months ago and I'm so sad about it, like I need to grow the frick up. I just like have not told anyone and it's like eating at me, but yeah, I'm in college now and I hate it here. College is so hard. I don't know how people can do it. I'm struggling in philosophy and maths and communication, like all my classes, like oh my gosh, life is hard.
My GPS tried to ruin my job interview. A few months ago, I had a job interview across town. I left early, dressed nice, felt confident until my GPS decided it was time for chaos. Halfway there, it rerouted me to save time, which turned out to be a dirt road leading to a locked gate and a very confused herd of goats. My car and I just sat there for a minute, questioning every life choice that brought us to that moment. By the time I got back on track, I was sweating bullets and 5 minutes late. I rushed into the building, apologized, and explained what happened. The hiring manager laughed and said, "That's the best excuse I've heard all week. At least you didn't hit the goats." I didn't get the job, but 2 weeks later, she emailed me saying another position had opened up and she still remembered me as the Goat Road guy. So I guess sometimes taking the wrong turn literally leads you to the right place.
I got dumped because of a pasta sauce emergency. I wish I could say we broke up over something big, like a betrayal, a heated argument, or even growing apart. But no, I got dumped over tomato sauce. It all started when I tried to impress her with my famous spaghetti. I was aiming for romantic, candlelight, Italian music playing from my phone. The works. I just forgot one crucial detail I can't cook. Somewhere between burning the onions and setting off the smoke alarm, I dropped the entire jar of marinara on the floor. And not just on the floor, but in a spectacular, crime scene fashion that splattered red sauce across the white walls, the ceiling, and somehow inside the light fixture. It looked like a tomato had exploded in a horror film. She walked in right as I was trying to mop the ceiling with a Swiffer and panicked because she thought I was bleeding. When I said, "Don't worry, it's just sauce," she blinked 3 times, sat down, and said, "I think we should take a break." A break over sauce. She left while I was still holding the Swiffer like a sword. The pasta boiled dry. The apartment still smells faintly of burnt garlic. Moral of the story: either learn to cook or stick to takeout. Or maybe just don't date people who think tomato-related disasters are deal breakers.
The Price of Silence on the Road to Spin Boldak. 4:30 p.m., Wednesday, August 18th, 2021. The Kandahar sun beat down on the cargo van carrying Ramin, a former librarian, and his sister, Fawzia. They were among a dozen terrified people fleeing south toward the Spin Boldak border. The driver, Sherzad, stopped the van suddenly near a ruined mud brick tower. The immediate silence was sharp and terrifying. Sherzad, his voice rough. "Everyone. Now. Get out. Only 2 minutes. Anyone who is slow stays behind." Sherzad pointed a thick finger at Ramin. He had noticed the weight of Ramin's bag. Sherzad, demanding. Specifically, "You, librarian. Your bag looks heavy. What treasure do you bring from the city of the infidels?" Ramin clutched his sister and explained the bag held only family documents and books, Rumi's poetry and an English Dari dictionary. Sherzad yanked the satchel open. Seeing no jewels, he picked up the dictionary, scoffed, and threw it into the dust. Sherzad, sneering, "Useless paper. Do you think words will buy you passage? The charge for the heavy bag is $100. Or, you leave the books." Ramin looked at the dictionary, then at Fawzia. He pulled out the last of his savings, money earned from selling their possessions for this journey. "Ramin," his voice firm, "I will pay. The books come with us." Sherzad took the money without a word. Ramin picked up the dictionary, brushing the dust off its cover. The incident was brief, but profound. Ramin knew the real price paid was not for the seats or the heavy bag, but for the fierce, desperate right to carry a sliver of hope, the knowledge contained in a few fragile pages, out of a lost country. The moment my husband erased my humanity with one sentence. Last night, during a heated discussion about workplace stress, my husband casually dropped this bomb. Women are less of a human. That's why they'll never perform better than men in any organization. I froze. At first, I thought he was joking, some horrible attempt at sarcasm. But he didn't laugh. He leaned back, arms crossed, and looked at me like he'd just explained gravity. I asked him to repeat himself. He did. Word for word. The man I've shared a bed with for years just calmly declared that I and every woman I know am fundamentally less. Here's the kicker. He said it with such conviction that it felt rehearsed, like this isn't a sudden slip of the tongue. This is a belief. Which makes me wonder, how long has he carried this? And how much has it shaped the choices he's made at work, in friendships, maybe even in our marriage? I replayed our life together like a crime scene. Every time he dismissed my ideas as emotional. Every time he joked that I was lucky to have him manage the finances. Every time he told me women just aren't built for leadership. I used to roll my eyes, chalk it up to bad humor, a bad day. But now it all lines up like puzzle pieces snapping into place. And here's the jaw-dropper. I found out that at his job, he's a mid-level manager, women on his team have been mysteriously quitting one after the other. I never connected the dots until now. What if he's been quietly sabotaging them? What if his prejudice isn't just private, it's professional? Now I'm sitting here questioning everything.
A slice of life from the perspective of a native from the planet of Zaksaip. It's early morning, always the hardest time. The gravity presses on me like a second skin, heavier than at any other hour. The sharp black sand of the beach bites through my toes, tiny shards crunching underfoot, and I taste the brine of the ocean in the air. Sweet sulfur rises from the surf, mingling with the smell of vegetables cooking over the fire my husband tends. It pulls me from sleep, coaxing me upright. The first beings I see are the hatched larvae, clustering hungrily around the fire, their tiny bodies trembling against gravity's relentless press. They look to me, their mother, for guidance, and I move toward them, muscles straining as I rise. I have lived 32 cycles, in another world's counting system, 224 years, and though still young, I feel the weight of my years. I have 44 cycles left to produce young, each one a thread in the web of survival, each one a small triumph in this dangerous, sprawling archipelago. The house rocks gently on its wooden poles, open to wind and spray, flawless to let the black sand shift freely beneath us. I step carefully, collecting protein stores and preparing for the day's journey. Winter has been long this cycle, and the ocean grudging in its offerings. I lift my gaze toward the wall mountain, where the alignment of the 3 moons and the star is slowly taking shape. Even from here, the pattern is familiar. Father in the sky, mother rising larger than the others, and the children, daughter and son, smaller but precise in their march across the horizon. I whisper the old blessing, murmuring the words passed down through countless cycles, an echo of the ancient ritual that once guided our ancestors in observing the heavens. Every flicker of moonlight and starlight falling across the sand feels sacred, a pulse that connects the tides, the islands, and the weight of our lives. The larva chirps softly, nudging me to move faster, and I feel the double weight of responsibility and awe. Today, like every day, is a matter of survival, but it is also a small lesson in harmony, with the oceans, the sky, and the cycles that will one day carry our descendants beyond this world. Even in this harsh, beautiful place, every breath and every careful step is a ritual, and every alignment of moon and star is a reminder that one day, we will learn to touch the black ocean between worlds.
Brett didn't like her birthday gift. Funny. I was invited to my friend Brett's birthday party. Honestly, I found it odd that it was Ashton, her brother, who invited me. I know him rather well, he always seems to have a card up his sleeve. I figured it wasn't going to be an ordinary birthday party. The next evening, I arrived right on time. I was taken aback by how Ashton had staged everything with such a fine-tooth comb. From the decorations and caterers to the way volunteers greeted every guest with such cordiality. I asked him how he managed to afford to pull this off. He replied, "I wanted to do something nice for my sister. A big lump sum I'd been saving for the past year was burning a hole in my pocket." Evidently, he was among the higher-ups in one of the big 4 firms in finance. I was in awe of all he had done for his sister. Still, I couldn't help but think whether he had another card up his sleeve. Later that evening, my friend Brett, the birthday girl, arrived on stage. To give some context, Brett is a tomboy. Everything about her, from the way she talks to her everyday casual outfits, has a boyish edge. She even insists on being called Brett instead of Brittany because it feels less feminine. But this time, she showed up in a beautiful dress. She seemed a bit vexed. At first, I thought she was bursting at the seams with excitement, but then I realized what it was, the dress. She didn't like that it was feminine. Honestly, I thought she had dressed to the nines, but what do I know? I guessed Ashton made her wear it. When it came time to cut the cake, she put on a grin and tried her best to keep her composure. The celebration carried on, and later Ashton unveiled a special gift, a brand new Vespa. That's when things grew tense. The room went silent. It seemed everyone knew of her disposition except Ashton. Brett, for someone who usually keeps her guard up, she was in dismay, couldn't hide her feelings this time. She wore her heart on her sleeve and stormed right off that stage. Her brother remained in the state of confusion. Well, what did her brother expect? He had gifted her a pink Vespa. 4.
Thank you for watching. If you have any Minecraft tips or want to see something built, drop a comment. Advice is always appreciated. Hope you enjoyed all the stories and got done whatever you needed doing.